Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man. Brought to you by Friend Entertainment USA, producing the best concerts for charities and corporations for over 30 years. And CBMS Consulting Services, control your business before it controls you. In association with Area 22 Productions, your multimedia streaming network. Now, here is Darren and the Music Man.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man. Those of you that are tuning in again, as you usually do, from week to week, we used to be called Ty and the Music Man. I want to wish Ty the best of luck in her new position as having an office space and having her business really grow. And we wish her the best of luck, and I hope that she calls in or watches in, and we wish her well. Anyway, we're here tonight. I want to introduce my new partner over here, Mr. Darren Chiaffi. Darren, say hello to the world.
Hello, world.
That's what
Norman,
I used to say.
That's it. Norman, I just want to thank you for inviting me to be part of this show. I'm very excited to be here. I'm looking forward to working with all our guests that we have coming up. I know we got quite a few.
So yeah, we're doing pretty well. We're pretty built.
We're going to have fun over the next few weeks. So for those of you just tuning in, again, we're with the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man. So we should have fun doing this.
What our program is going to be all about is taking businesses and not-for-profits and service organizations and introduce them locally, nationally, and internationally to help their business grow and promote them. These are not big businesses. They're small to medium-sized services in business, and they all need a shot. And Darren and I our key word for all of this is promote, and promote. That's three times, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to promote businesses. And one of the business services that we're going to introduce tonight is a young lady by the name of Melissa Gallagher. Hello, Melissa.
Hello, Norman.
And that camera, we're going to say hello to everybody over there. And her partner in crime, Mr. Rick Cashman. And welcome to our show.
Hello, Norman. Hello, world.
I would like everybody to get a pencil and paper because there's going to be a time where you're going to need these people's services. And there may be a time right now where you need the services. And why don't you tell everybody, Rick and Melissa, what your business is all about, your name of your business, where you're located, and what you're about.
So the name of our company is Creative Caregiving Solutions. We are based in Babylon, but we reach all the way, Babylon, New York.
Right.
We reach all the way to the East End and as far up to New York City, Manhattan. And primarily what we do is we go into people's homes and we do a therapeutic recreation assessment, which is different and unlike any other type of assessment.
Let me interrupt you for a second. So we want to make sure that this is all straight. You do assessments, but you do assessments for a certain type of person.
Yes.
A person that has a problem.
Yes.
And why don't you mention the name of your firm and what your firm actually does.
Okay, so the name, again, of our company is Creative Caregiving Solutions, and we primarily work with individuals who have Alzheimer's disease or related dementia, their care providers, and their families. And we provide in-home recreation therapy services, basically in a nutshell.
Why recreation?
Recreation therapy?
Why is that important? I mean, I guess that's important. You're doing it, but what's the purpose?
Well, the thing is, it's also the missing piece in home care. When you go into a skilled facility, there's a mandated care plan for recreation, therapeutic recreation. When you go into, if you live in an assisted living, there are different activities that are offered for individuals who live in the community. And in the home, we try to offer that. And I have found in the past years of doing this that, activities are just kind of being put in front of people, and they're not really the right activity. People are not understanding the functioning level of the person. Is it a successful activity? So what we do as recreation therapists, we assess an individual on different domains. And what that means is we assess their cognitive abilities, their physical abilities, spiritual domain, social, emotional, and then of course their leisure interests, past, present, and their leisure pursuits. So we put that all together and I can work with an individual after the first visit, then second visit, and put a whole plan together where families often, they will get kind of stuck in what the person liked to do, and then when they see the person not engaging, I hear all the time, oh, they don't want to do that anymore.
Well, what made you do this? What brought you to the fact to start a business like this?
Well, so I've been doing this a very long time.
How long is that?
About 17 years.
17 years.
I've been in the field.
The whole field's changed, though, in 17 years, right?
The whole field has changed.
Right.
I think therapeutic recreation has always really been the same, the core of it. But just a side note, one of the good things that I do see is that I see where therapeutic recreation and community recreation are kind of merging, because a lot of people are wanting to stay home and age in place in their home. So that means they want to go out into the community. So even individuals who are living with Alzheimer's disease or related dementia, there are community programs out there. That's one of the things that I do. I help remotivate people. I help make families aware of the different programs that are out there, so that they're not sitting at home. They're socializing and they are enjoying life.
So what you're saying, Melissa, is that you're creating a very specific plan for the individual.
It's individual.
And it's not a right out of the box, here you go, this person's got this disease, so we're going to just, we're going to put blocks in front of them to keep their minds working, type of thing. I've seen it, that
Right.
type of program.
A lot of people
Well,
have lived through that with family members and friends and so on. Yeah, it's tough.
It's not something that, it is very individualized. We do person-centered care. So that means that, your plan will absolutely be different. And I do think that they try to strive for that, in different facilities and communities, but a lot of times they're limited in what they're offering. So instead of trying to fit the person into what they're offering, what they have, what I do is different. Of course, I have the luxury of most of the time being in someone's home, but even for individuals living in, I have several clients who live in either assisted living or skilled facility. Just some of those individual activities can often remotivate them and have good memories for them, that they'll want to go to the activities that are offered.
So let me ask you, how do you, because you said you remotivate them, how do you, and anybody who's dealt with people with dementia, it's 1 minute they're right there and they know everything that's going on, and then the next second they have no idea what's going on. How do you remotivate people like that?
Or can you? Can you
You
do
can,
that?
and the thing, of course, everybody's different. So there are some individuals who do have what we call lucid moments, where one moment, they may be confused, and then the next moment, they're there, they're aware of what's going on, and depending on what stage they're at. But
How many different stages are there?
Well, we usually kind of, just to be general, it's usually early stage, middle stage, later stage, and then there's kind of
And
more.
then there's different degrees within each?
There's more detail in between, but a lot of times lately people are saying, instead of early onset, I prefer to say younger onset, because there's a lot of confusion. Younger onset is individuals usually who are diagnosed under 65, or it might be 64, but that's younger onset, or someone who's even younger than that, say 50, or there have been
How
cases
often
of
does
40.
that happen?
It seems that you hear it more because, again, there's more awareness of the different types of Alzheimer's and other dementias, but primarily Alzheimer's disease specifically is usually older.
What are some of the signs that people should be looking for? Because, a lot of times, like I talk to friends and they, you start to see it, excuse me, you start to see it happening within somebody in your family.
Yes.
And you kind of laugh at them because they're forgetting things. And I'm sorry.
Are you okay?
That's all right. Here, take a break for a second.
Yeah.
Let me just jump in for a minute. We met a couple of months ago.
Yes.
You made a presentation at an event that I was at, and I asked a question because I'm 69 years of age.
Right.
And I think I'm in pretty good shape, and I think my mental facilities are okay. But I doubt myself sometimes. I forget things
Right.
from 1 second to the other. Now, people do this all the time, but there are certain times that it happens often.
Right.
And I question myself, and I said to you, what did this, explain.
Well, first of all, I'm very busy and I forget things very often, and I do not have Alzheimer's or dementia. Although I get where you're coming from, sometimes you think, oh my gosh, and I lose
Exactly.
things. But, we're also, I sometimes am sleep deprived because I'm so busy. So you have to remember that you could have a brain fog and you're not on your game when you're not getting sleep. And also, of course, our brain, like any other part of our body, it does get older. So maybe we take a little longer to, recall things. Sometimes we don't learn as quickly as younger
But I'm talking
people.
about, I can say I got to get up and do something, and I forget what it is that I'm going to do.
Okay, but that happens to everybody. See, the thing is, somebody who has Alzheimer's disease or another dementia, they will start to forget familiar people. So that you said we met, and I know you for a while, but I know Rick longer. But all of a sudden, if I walked into a room one day and I didn't remember him, that's somebody that I see on a daily basis.
Well, you mentioned Rick.
Yes. This
Rick,
guy sitting
say
over
hello
here.
to us.
Hello world.
How did you meet Rick? How did you guys get involved?
I met Rick, probably like about 7, maybe
7
even
years.
8 years ago.
Through networking.
Through networking, he was actually the head of the NAIPC back then. It was an
NAIPC,
organization. I had just started a consulting business the first time, my seminar business, and someone had told me that Rick was a good connection because he worked with older adults who wanted to age in place. And ever since then, we've been really great friends. And then more recently, probably about, I guess, almost 2 years ago, 2 years this October, having known that his wife Beverly was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and knowing what I do, he actually called me in to come on board and help. And I had been kind of involved in and out of her care and helping him. When I worked for the Alzheimer's Association, Rick actually used to attend my support group. And I worked with Beverly when she was in the early stages. So she was my friend. So I knew her very well, too.
Can we ask Rick, what was it like for you as a caregiver?
Terrible. And
If you can
I
explain.
will explain that. I watched Beverly deteriorate for 5 years. And the 5 years that I was her primary caregiver, she, not just, losing keys like we all do, she would call me from the grocery store. Rick, I can't find the car. And we parked the car at the same place at the grocery store all the time. She can't find it. But I knew that something may be a brew because her father had Alzheimer's.
Got it.
So putting 2 and 2 together, and knowing other symptoms that she was experiencing, I had taken some steps to bring some care into the house. But being the primary caregiver is not fun. I was at some point after 3-4 years, I was having to feed her. I would have to bathe her, and I would have to dress her, activities of daily living. But I found that there was one element that was truly missing. I couldn't get her for those 5 years. I could not get her to smile. And I said, how am I gonna bring some joy back into her life in her remaining days? Because I know it's a terminal illness. It's you can't cure it. You can't slow it down. There is an inevitability to it. So knowing that Melissa Gallagher is a recreation therapist, a therapeutic recreation specialist, and also has lots of experience with dementia patients, with skilled facilities, and she was also with the Alzheimer's Association. I said, Melissa, come and take a look at Beverly. I know she's got Alzheimer's. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I'm doing everything I can to make her happy. She rejects all the medication that the that the brain specialists have, the neurologists have prescribed for her, and I'm almost at my wit's end. I don't know what to do anymore. Everything is scattered, from waking up to going to bed at night. Everything is just scattered, and she's very resistant to everything that I try to do.
Can I ask a question? You just said that she was rejecting the medications. Was that her body was rejecting the medications, or she just wasn't taking
Both.
the medications?
It's a combination.
It's a combination of both. Right?
She had one medication, I don't know, some medication she was taking, and she was violently throwing up and having diarrhea, and that was no fun.
Right.
Call the neurologist, and he put her on the patch. And I found that no matter where I put it on her back, she'd found it and take it off. So it was very frustrating after going through many packages of those patches, and we just had to find a way to make her comfortable and get her into a routine, which I knew nothing about. I mean, the Alzheimer's Association, they espouse that you have to get a routine. And I just wasn't getting that routine. And working with aides coming into the home, they just weren't getting it. So I asked my dearest friend, Melissa, of many years, to come in, because I knew she, and we had gone to the support groups with Melissa at the Alzheimer's Association. And I asked her to come and take a look and make an assessment for Beverly and see what we could do to improve the situation, improve her quality of life, which was missing. And Melissa came in and did a fantastic job.
So
she's in there 1/2 hour, and Beverly was smiling. I couldn't do it for 4.5 years.
Huge.
Well,
That's huge.
Sometimes.
So let me just interrupt you for a second.
No,
Let me lead you someplace. What did you do? just
Trade
what did you do?
You know,
came in, you didn't
I
say
didn't do
just
magic,
smile.
but
What did you do?
Sometimes when you're so close to it, somebody coming in, a fresh set of eyes, and just obviously, I had some emotional attachment because obviously she was my friend, but.
Did she know whom you were when you came in?
Well, remember that question later, because I would like to maybe end with that question, because
Okay.
I had a profound moment with Beverly one day. I don't think she did, but I'm kind of fun, and I'm very, I can just be me. That's the one thing that I enjoy about working with individuals, with dementia, because I let them lead. And I know that doesn't really, sometimes people don't really understand that, but I just let them lead, and I don't ask them questions, and do you remember? And I just let them be, and I smile, and I try to find something, a common connection. And that's, when I do that, during my assessment, that helps me to really see where the person is at. And I get some tips from the family. I kind of knew some of her interests, but I just, I sang. I would just start singing, or, just.
Is
I was
that
singing,
something that
you threw me out of the
is that
house.
something that Beverly did, was sing?
No, but she liked music. I
loved
knew
music.
I knew
She
what
loved
kind
music.
of music. I kind of brought more music back into the home. In fact, you used to just dance in the living room with her. That was just kind of, we would just
What did
do
she
that.
like?
Doo-wop.
What kind of music?
She
She
liked
doo-wop?
Barry. She liked
60s,
doo-wop.
you
She
know,
liked
classic
Barry
rock.
Manilow. She liked
Barry, yeah, she
ABBA.
liked the 70s, ABBA.
She liked ABBA. So and she liked.
Sunday afternoon, ABBA.
So I would just kind of sing some songs, and sometimes she would finish them, and I would just follow her lead where the conversation went. She talked a lot about her children. She talked a lot about when I first started working with Beverly, before Rick called me in, she actually taught me how to sew. We had to find a way, this was in the earlier stages, just to bring, she wasn't really doing anything. And she wasn't really, she didn't like art, and she just she liked to cook. She sewed, she cared for her family. That was, she raised all her grandchildren. So I said, she'll teach me how to sew. This way, it made her feel like she was teaching me something, which I still don't know how to sew. But she did get me to sew on a button, which did stay on, which was amazing. And I did sew hem a pair of pants, which I still have hanging in my closet.
While you're doing this,
Yeah.
you now, Rick, are learning what Melissa did, and you were incorporating that when Melissa wasn't there? Is that how the program also works?
Yes.
That was kind of earlier.
And not just that, it gave me a lot of little bit of respite.
Now, you mentioned before that it was 4.5 years before Melissa came in.
Yes.
Hindsight's always 20/20, right? Knowing what you know now and the recommendation to families that are now just starting to go through this, would your recommendation be to bring somebody like Melissa in sooner than later?
Absolutely, I would do
Okay.
that. Yes, that's the key to the whole thing. That somebody has to intervene in a very particular situation that somebody has dementia or Alzheimer's or a form of dementia to assess what it is that they have. Now, Melissa's not going to make a diagnosis because she's not a physician. However, doing an assessment, a recreational therapeutic recreation assessment does bring home what the interests are and their capabilities to engage in activities, what activities, how they can function in that. And this is just where it has to go.
So if you knew like after Melissa came in and started working with Beverly, if you would have known those things in the very beginning, do you think your time working with Beverly as the caregiver would have been
a lot easier.
A lot easier.
Absolutely. No
And the
question,
routine,
hands
too.
down.
The
Because
routine.
what happens is you make a routine, and that routine goes, instead of 3.5 or 4 years into this terrible care, if you have a routine, it eases that tension and that anxiety that you build up over the time. A routine is very important.
And for the person too, especially when they are confused and not being able to remember, something that you do that's familiar on a daily basis is actually comforting for the person. And
Yeah, because I'm sure your level of anxiety is through the roof because it's almost like when you have a newborn and they're first starting to walk, right? You're
Right,
chasing them around. It's almost like the same type of thing. You're always worried about where they are, what they're doing.
It's just like an infant. I was
Right.
chasing Beverly around because she was wandering. She didn't know where she was going. She was so confused. I had to, corral her and sit her down and calm her down. And through the therapeutic ideas that we have, to engage her in certain activities that would calm her down.
yeah. And
What was your
Especially-
outlet? What was your outlet? Did you have, because it's really, really tough. I can only imagine how tough this would be on a daily situation, 24/7, 365. It's crazy. Did you do therapy?
Did I do therapy?
Yeah, did you go talk to anybody?
Oh, absolutely. I've been to 3 therapists.
And at the
here's
time-
my best therapist right here.
And
But
at the
I've been to
time-
three different therapists.
I would imagine you had to, or anybody
Absolutely,
would have
yeah.
to.
I'm a veteran, so I've been at the veterans, and I
That's a healthy
continue
thing
to
to
go to the veterans therapy sessions. In fact,
Now,
I
I
got
know
one
that
tomorrow.
I know that we're, I think, broadcasting your phone numbers and email addresses, but why don't we tell everybody, just in case, what your phone number is and how does somebody get in touch with you?
Sure. So our telephone number is 631-796-8477. And I offer a free consultation over the phone.
Let's
Be
give the number
happy-
again.
It's 631-796-8477.
And Rick, can you give your email, not email, but website address and people can reach you?
It's www.creativecaregivingsolutions.com.
That is our website.
Great.
And that's a handy tool. If you go onto the website, you'll see lots of good information and material there.
Is this something that's passed on from generation to generation? Is this,
Well, that's a
that-
technical term.
That's a good question because people ask that all the time. And I have to say, having worked for the Alzheimer's Association, I have a little more education than most. But yeah, if you have a family member, like in the case of Beverly, if you have a parent who had Alzheimer's disease, and this is speaking specifically of Alzheimer's disease, you are more at risk. That
At
doesn't
risk.
mean that you definitely will, but you are more at risk, just as there are other risk factors, such as a head injury could put you more at risk. So my father did not have Alzheimer's disease. He died from frontal temporal dementia, so that puts me more at risk for possibly developing that. So, I live my life, and I try to make every day the best. And, I don't have my father here anymore. I know a lot more now. I wish I had known more about that particular disease when I was going through it. But what I do now, what we do, we can help people make their journey, improve the quality of life for both. And I was thinking this as we were talking, it's recreation therapy for the individual with the disease, but it's also for the caregivers too, because, as Rick was saying, very often, and I know this, for myself, you just kind of get so involved in it that you lose yourself, and that's not healthy. And you need to be there for the person that you're taking care of. And you stop seeing friends, and you stop doing the things that you enjoy, then you start to get depressed. And
Absolutely.
then you stop taking care of yourself and going to the doctor and all those things that you should be doing. So, when people reach out and bring people into the home, yes, those are great people. They help out with the meals and cleaning and showering and all those things. But the person, engaging them in activity, those individuals, they have training if they're from a good agency, but they can't do an intervention and a therapeutic recreation assessment that a CTRS can do, and that's what I do. And I think people are starting to recognize that I want to be part of that treatment team in the home and kind of get everybody communicating.
So and I don't mean to cut
That's
you
all
off, no. So if you have somebody in your family that you suspect may be early onset,
Yes.
with dementia or or Alzheimer's, you coming in and just working with them, you can kind of pin down if there's going to be problems or not in the future for them.
Yeah, well, again, I don't.
Again,
make
not being a doctor, being a doctor.
In fact, I prefer to work, with clients that, they have gone to a doctor and gotten some type of a diagnosis, because, we forget that there are certain symptoms or signs that could be something else, and you always want to go to a doctor, just like any other illness. You want to know what you're dealing with so you can best treat it. And sometimes it may not be an irreversible dementia. It could be delirium. It could be a vitamin deficiency. Sometimes it could be the mild cognitive impairment, and the person maybe is getting confused, and maybe they mix their medications. That could show.
So what is mild cognitive impairment?
I'm glad that I brought that up. So mild cognitive impairment, that's actually, it's diagnosed by a doctor. So the symptoms are there that a doctor or neuropsychologist, when they do that testing to kind of see if the person, their memory, their language, their sequencing skills, other executive functioning, because again, dementia is not just memory. It's thoughts. It's.
I asked you this question once at the
and now
meeting.
I'm forgetting. I forget things too, Norman,
The
because I'm
brain,
nervous.
because I said, not does it affect the rest of your body, and you explained yes, because it has to do with the brain,
Yes.
and then the brain triggers.
Judgment, that's the word I
Go
was
for it.
thinking of. Judgment. So people often
But
think that
I know a lot of people have
they-
very poor judgment, and I wouldn't.
Well, some
consider
people
them.
just have really poor judgment.
Yeah, we know a few.
But we're talking about, like safety things, like, just safety issues. You hear about people leaving the stove on, or, maybe running the watering, forgetting, or maybe using a knife and not being aware of what they're doing. Which, again, people who have dementia and, they're starting to show signs, driving is a big issue. It's not, they know how to get from the, house to the grocery store. There's other things involved in driving. There's
Yes.
reaction time, there's judgment, that word. But yeah, a lot of people think that people die with Alzheimer's disease, and they actually die from Alzheimer's disease. And, when you really understand the disease and how it progresses throughout your brain, ultimately, in the later stages, it does actually affect the part of the brain stem, where your breathing, your heart, the parts of the brain that control those functions. We forget how amazing our brain is. So that part of the brain, if it dies, you'll see people who will stop eating. They have difficulty swallowing because
Right.
that part of their brain is dying.
He's saying
and
don't.
that ultimately leads to, the whole not eating and then dehydration and, then the person is actively dying.
Well, here's a question that I'm sure you're asked all the time. Money, okay? In your practice, do you accept insurance?
Okay, so I do not directly bill. I do not accept insurance as far as Medicare because I am certified, so I'm not licensed. However, there are some clients who have had long-term care insurance policies. Sometimes they have a very vague clause in there about informal caregiving, depending on the policy. A lot of people have paid for my services out of a pooled income trust when they have community Medicaid, so they have to actually kind of spend down that money each month. The doctor, my services actually, you can get a prescription for recreation therapy. So if the doctor writes a note stating that it's necessary, medically necessary, my services can be covered. But surprisingly enough, I feel that we do really good work. I think people see the value in it. It's a package of services.
You have different plans, don't you?
I do. I work with people, and it's affordable, and I believe that you get a lot. We're there to answer questions.
Well, in addition to you going in to somebody's home and doing the analysis and the, I guess, the write-up on what gets done, there are aides that also go to the home, correct? That assist you in what you're doing. Now, that is taken care of by insurance, isn't it?
No. Because
No,
we don't,
okay.
I don't put home health
Oh, not from
aides.
you. I'm saying if someone
Oh, yeah,
contracts
yeah.
a home health aide.
Well, okay, that's a different question. So someone could have my services, and obviously I'm working with, say, they have a home health aide in place. Is that what you mean?
Is that what, Rick, is that what you had? Did you have home
I
health
had
aides?
home
I
health
had
aides.
aides. I
Yeah,
had
so-
aides come in.
Was it a 24/7 type situation
No,
for
it was
yourself?
not at that time.
8 hours?
It was 8 hours a day. Actually, it turned into 10 hours a day for 4 days because they only allow the aides 40 hours. The other days I had her go to an adult day program at one of the eventual nursing home that she
Medical
did
model
go.
program.
Medical model day program. And it was great because they showered her, they fed her, and they did activities with her. And it was in the same...
Social been placed as well.
Okay. So, again, hindsight being 20/20, Rick. Yeah, and this is, I see this all the time. I had a family member that went through it. I had a very close personal friend. I watched, his wife go through it. And sometimes we hang on a little too long. We love the people so much that we don't give them the right treatment or care that they should have. When is it, and going off of your experience, Rick, if you don't mind sharing, when is it time to say, you know what, I can't do this, I can't have her in the house anymore?
When the wife says, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
No. It becomes confusing to the caregiver, myself, that I didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't know how to please her. I didn't know how to make her happy. We were doing everything with the activities of daily living, the washing, the bathing, the cooking, the cleaning, but to make her happy. And I come back to this. I could never make her happy. I didn't know what to do. We would sit down and do a puzzle, but she couldn't do the big puzzles anymore. We went down to the smaller puzzles, and then the real smaller puzzles. And she would sit in front of the TV. She had a special TV show that she watched, especially in the afternoon, where I had to intervene when there's sundowning is a common condition of Alzheimer's. And
What does
it
that
usually
mean?
happens late in the afternoon. It's changing a guard, changing a shift, the sun goes down, and it kind of agitates them. For some reason, the brain reacts to a changing of the day or the daylight. That's why they call it sundowning. And it becomes agitating,
For
confusing.
some, not everyone.
Yeah, and
But also, what you were asking, basically when it's unsafe, because that's really, people can stay at home and, like Rick said, having brought home health aides in, and she had a different program, so she had a lot of different things, but she was declining and it was becoming unsafe because she had fallen a couple of times. And
Even with the aides there too?
Even, well, the aides were there during the day.
They were only there
so
40
she
40
had
hours.
fallen
This
out
is
of
in the
bed,
evening.
and then
But I tell you, when
being able to get her up.
when I'm at the hospital with her for one condition or another, from 8 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning, 3 times out of 4 weeks, it wears on you. And it's a matter of safety. If she's falling out of bed, I have to call 911 at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, please help me because I can't get her off the floor. So it's a matter of safety.
It's a matter of safety, not only for her, but for you.
Yeah.
Because it's you can't, like you said, you can't pick her up.
That's right.
And I understand too that with Alzheimer's, sometimes people become violent.
Yes.
And, it could
Beverly
very well-
wasn't violent,
She
but there
wasn't
are
violent.
There
people
are,
that do
you're right.
get violent.
But
yes.
but the thing too, you have to also remember that physically it was challenging, but for someone who's so confused, to explain to them, to get them to stand up
Right.
is very challenging, and that happened a couple of times.
Well, I'm going to bring something up now, which is, I guess, good for your business because it's about something you mentioned before.
Okay.
It's called seminars.
Yes.
Now, you give seminars. You and Rick give seminars. I attended one of them.
Yes.
Can you tell everybody about the seminar and what's involved with it and how they can get you and what you talk about?
So I do several. So basically, we do presentations so that people can understand what we do. Some are more educational, depending on who we're presenting them to. When we're presenting, to our peers in the community at different networking groups. But I teach an 8-hour seminar, as I mentioned earlier, through an organization called the NCCDP, which is the National Council for Certified Dementia Practitioners.
Good job.
Which is a plug for them, which actually, it's not on his name tag, but Rick actually took the class, as I require all of my employees to take, and he recently became certified dementia practitioner.
CDP, it's on there.
He's a CDP, it's not on your name tag.
Congratulations to you.
It's on his card.
Congratulations, Rick.
So it's a class that I've actually I'm an approved trainer through them. So I'm a CDP, but also a CADDCT.
Yeah,
so
but
I
it's
can
easy for you to
teach
say.
the class. I'm also an HHA too. I became a home health aide because how could I train home health aides?
I'm
if
an
I didn't-
FEU.
I
So
understand
how do
the
you
job.
fit all of those letters on your
I
business
don't.
card?
My printer said no more credentials. Well, you have to get a big card. But I enjoy teaching that class. It just encompasses everything from overview, diagnosis, treatment, to nutrition, to spirituality, activities, the whole thing. It's a full jam-packed 8 hours. I teach it often in the community, mostly for professionals. I'm actually teaching it next week, but we're full, sorry. But I will be teaching it again.
You are filled up?
I'm full, yes.
How many people attend these things?
It depends on the space, so I'm full with 10 right now. But I do teach in larger venues where
Well, I
we
get
can
a-
have lots of people.
I would
there.
imagine that the smaller the room, the better it is.
So how can
It is a
people
little
find out
more-
about these seminars?
On my website,
Okay.
Which
Which
is?
is?
it is www.creativeceregivingsolutions.com. Or you can call me, 631-796-8477. You can email me through the website as well.
How creative have you gotten with the therapy? I mean, how crazy have you done? What
Oh,
kind of
Crazy.
crazy
I
things?
do everything.
crazy.
We
Like
will
if-
do
if
whatever
very
it takes
creative.
to reach
If
that
Darren said, I
person.
can't take Norman anymore, he's out of control,
Yeah.
he's falling down, he's doing all of this.
But those are I love the most
You're close to
challenging.
that,
What would you would you come in and what do? You say hello and I don't respond
Right.
or whatever and I don't smile. So how do you get me to smile like you did with Beverly? What do you do?
Before I even go to you, so if Darren was your caregiver, I would have had a very lengthy.
He's a lousy caregiver too.
He's not doing a good job.
Really?
So that's why he called me. So
That's right. He's terrible.
He's
He never washes
frustrated.
under my arms.
No, stop that. They don't want to hear that. So anyway, so I had a very long conversation with Darren, and he told me a lot of stuff about you.
Oh, there's
and
a lot to tell.
He also told me a lot about your functioning level as far as, your ADLs, because I need to know that. He told me...
Well, what's an ADL?
An activity of daily living.
Okay.
So, do Do you shower
Did you
independently?
know what? You didn't know what? I don't know what an
Did
ADL
you,
is.
do you,
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, right, that's-
can you ambulate? That's another fancy word for walking. Can you walk independently? Can you transfer independently? Can you get up and down from a chair by yourself? Or, does Darren or somebody else have to help you? So I get all this great information, and then I think, okay, I have
Does
to have...
Darren give you that info, or does the patient give it to you, if they can?
If they can. And even though I don't usually speak to, because like I said, a lot of my clients are kind of, if they can, when I'm there, I will ask them, obviously, what do you think about this, when we're actually engaged. But primarily, I haven't had too many individuals yet in
Well,
the
Darren
earlier
has had an
stages.
aid for me. It's that guy over there. You see that guy, Mark? He was and he'd come into the house, and he would like throw me from one end of the room. If I didn't listen to him, forget it.
Well,
you
he
know.
should be fired if he was
Actually, I kind of
anyway.
liked it. Go ahead.
Okay, so Norman would definitely be a challenge. But anyway, I have some tools, so I know what to bring to kind of reach you. And I know earlier I emailed you and I asked you, what is your favorite song? And you said, gee, I don't know, I have so many. And you
Well,
said,
I am the music man,
You
so-
are the music man, and you said Motown, and you said The Temptations. So that is really valuable information, because then I could go in with my phone where I have music downloaded, and I could play The Temptations. And if you were nonverbal, that possibly, hopefully, could reach you. It would at least make you smile.
That is so simple but cool.
It
That
is.
really is. That would have triggered something. It really would have.
It's about the connection, right?
And
about
it could be
creating that
different
connection.
for every person.
Now, when you come in, do you say, I'm Melissa and I'm a therapist and I'm going to work with you, or
No.
You're
you
a
come
friend.
in and
Most
say,
of the time, no. I'm just Melissa, and especially, and a lot of people think that's lying. I have to meet the person where there's at. A lot of times if there's awareness, they're, who is this girl coming in? I can't make people feel like they're being tested, because
Right.
nobody likes that.
Well, does
Well,
someone like
that's-
Rick say to you, like, this is a friend of mine, this is Melissa,
Yeah,
and
this
she
is my
wanted
friend
to meet
Melissa. Sometimes I had a client recently where, she was really looking at me like,
Yeah.
why is she here? And I want to gain the person's trust, because once I do, then they'll let me in, and they'll let me into their world, and then I can become part of it, so I can better, help them, enjoy life. So she was a teacher, and so I said, well, I work with children too. I lied, but I said, I wanted to show you some of the things.
you. Interest. What did you do with this particular
I
person?
let her talk about herself, because she was a teacher. She was a teacher for 25 years with young children, and had stories. And although some of it was fragmented, I knew what she was talking about, and I validated what she was saying, and I listened to her, and I smiled when it was funny, and I acted upset when she talked about the students that wouldn't listen, and how it was challenging for her to have, not always the support. Like, these were things she told me that was a really great conversation, and I had her talking for about 26 minutes.
But
And-
she's not talking to the family
and
about
has
this.
dismissed
It had
pretty
to
much
be brought
everybody
out.
else in the
Do
family.
the two of you do this together at times?
Well, I can come to some of the sessions.
I do
can-
the assessment.
She's
and-
got to, because she's the therapist. She's the trained therapist.
Right, I do the assessments for now. I have people that are, I'm in the process of training to do assessments in the future. Only a CTRS will do the actual assessment. And the first 2 visits, I like to work with the client alone, because then I get their best picture, because the
Is it-
family's not hovering.
right, and that's the thing, right? The family always wants to know what's going on.
Right.
But is there ever a time where you'll bring Rick or somebody else
Absolutely.
in, and they'll make that connection that you can't seem to get through?
Yes, and that's why you must be open-minded when doing this. I learned from the family. I recently took on a client. After the first visit, I learned that I hadn't known before that he was a Yankees fan. I'm a Yankees fan, so that
too.
yeah. So
What about you?
I'm a Yankee
that
fan.
has just led to so many great things. Conversation. It's
Rick's looking the other way. He must be a Met
He
fan.
likes Boston.
Sox.
He likes the Red Sox.
Get out of here.
But yeah, you
Greg
learn
Red.
from the
You
family.
mean the White Sox? Not the Red Sox. No, you can't be a Red Sox fan.
I am.
He is.
No, we're
I
gonna
wanna
get you out of this
I
video.
want to
You know,
replace
it's
Ted
coming
Winter
out.
in left field.
All right.
There you go.
But then the person themselves, I mean, they can tell me what they like and don't like.
You ever use
you
pets?
give choices.
You ever use pet therapy?
I don't. don't have that as a person that I can, like a resource to bring in, but I can often recommend it. Some people have pets, because again, I'm going into people's
I have
homes.
a pet,
so.
and every time I get upset or whatever it may be, I'll just sit and pet him.
Yeah.
It is the greatest
That's
therapy.
It is great therapy. I've seen
He is
wonders
such
having
a
worked in.
great little pup.
Not everybody that has dementia of some sort can take to a pet. I'll give you an example. I brought a dog in for Beverly. It's supposed to be a calm dog, but the dog wasn't so
Dog was not
calm,
calm.
and Beverly freaked out. I had to give the dog back.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I got the doctor's note to pet therapy, and we did it, and it was, paid for with the spend down that she had. And not everybody is going to be attuned to that. But there
But
is
it wasn't
a program.
trained either, just because I want to make a good plug for pet therapy. It's a
yeah,
great thing. So
it
those
is.
dogs, they go through training. They,
Right.
they're not jumping on people. And,
But there is a way of bringing pets in, but they're artificial pets that move and talk, or
Yeah,
bark, or
there's the
meow.
robotic pets too,
That's
yeah.
that's a different ballgame because
people who are a little
you can
further along.
control it, and it's very therapeutic.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in action up in Massachusetts.
we actually
Plymouth.
visited a facility in Massachusetts.
And a robotic
where-
pet
robotic
doesn't
pet.
poop.
Yes.
No, you don't
So
have to
it's
feed
nice.
it.
You don't have to clean it
I
up,
said,
right?
no, this, you see
Although
where
some of-
Norman's coming from.
Yeah.
All he's worried about is if the animal's going to poop or not.
Making
Well, we have to do that because we're almost getting near the end of the show, so we have to make a little levity
Right.
into
Yeah, right,
this thing,
exactly.
because this is a very serious
Very
It is a very
situation.
serious thing,
And I don't want to leave the show with people out in the world, they're getting all sorts of depressed, but there's help. There's people like
Yes,
you
there
that can
is.
come in and
And I
help.
want to tell my story. You said I
Go.
could go back to that question. So
Go
you had
back to
asked
it.
me earlier if Beverly remembered me, and I told you about how earlier in my relationship with her, when I had gone in and she taught me how to sew, and she taught me to sew a button on so it wouldn't fall off. So this is later when I came back towards I guess it was like a year and a half ago. So I was leading her by the hand one day to go to bed. I did a lot of her care, which was how I trained the aides, because I had to find a way to connect with her and to kind of get rid of a lot of her fears and confusion. So I did it a few times, and when I found what worked, then I made up a plan, and then everybody did the same thing. So I was actually leading her into the bedroom one day, and I had on a sweater, and I grabbed her hand, and she pointed to my sweater, and she said, "Buttons." I remember. And I said,
Moment of clarity.
yeah, and I didn't realize it until after. It wasn't, I thought, why is she looking at my sweater? There are stripes, but there was a button on the sweater. And she said, "The pants." I said, "Yes." I said, "You taught me to sew on the button and hemming the pants. We used to sew together." And she had such a smile on her face.
That's
and
great.
she remembered.
Long-term
So
memory
that
and
button,
clarity.
was a spark, and she remembered.
Well,
And
you guys certainly have a great service. I'm not calling it a business. It is a business,
It's-
but I'm not
it's a
calling it a
service.
business.
It's more than
service.
a business. It's
exactly.
our heart
We
and
love what we
soul
do.
into
Absolutely.
doing this.
You really
Because we've
love
both
what
gone
you
through
do.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, and because of that you've
That's
gone
exactly
through it,
right.
that you particularly feel that way.
This is
Do
our
you have any
passion.
events or anything that coming up that you want to tell everybody about? Anything, any place that they can get a seat?
well, yeah, I can tell you a couple of things. Like I said, the seminar, if you're interested in that, I am always teaching them. I always put the dates on the website. I also, for agencies, I do in-service training. It's a 90-minute in-service training for home health aides. For people living in the community, we just started a creative arts workshop called Brain Smart that we do at the Glenwood Life Center, which is in Nassau County. It's open to the community. It's open to really anyone at any skill level. Caregivers can come alone. They can come with someone. It's intergenerational. You can bring your kids. And we are slowly developing more of these types of programs all across the island, which I will be offering in libraries in the fall. So look on my website called Creative Minds. And then I am also facilitating a support group starting May 7th in
you're a busy
conjunction.
lady.
Yeah, but this is what I do.
Don't you work?
He does.
Does she
He
deliver
does a
that?
lot. No, he
But
does.
this is your
She
passion.
can't do it
Yeah,
alone.
yeah. We work together. So he does a lot of, after I do the assessment, the people that I have working under me, they will then carry out the plan and they will do the visits.
And again, how do they reach you? How do people reach you?
631-796-8477 or on our website, which is www.creativecaregivingsolutions.com.
That's great.
And that support group is in conjunction with the Alzheimer's Association at the Glenwood Life Center, first Monday of the month. That information will be on the website as well.
That's great. Well, we want to thank you for being here this evening. Rick, do you have anything any final comments you'd like to say?
She said it all.
You did? Oh, cool.
She did.
Well, again, thank you so
you.
much. I hope we can get you back here again.
Oh,
That would be good.
this was great.
That'd
Thank
be
you
great.
for having us.
It's my pleasure.
And if I could just say,
Thank you,
we
Darren.
just want to thank both of you for the work that you do.
Absolutely.
Okay, I mean, you do some really important work.
Thank you.
And, you know, I encourage everybody that even if you think someone in your family has this disease, Alzheimer's or, you know, dementia, get them checked out sooner than later. Don't wait. Like Rick says, don't wait because it's going to become hard. And get the help. You need to get help too in order to,
It affects
to help
everyone.
that person.
Being
It
forewarned
affects
So we
is
encourage
everyone.
you to
It
do
affects
that.
everyone in the family.
I want to take a minute, if I can. I'd like Darren to tell everybody what you do. Tell
Okay.
everybody what your
Well-
business happens to be.
Well, my business is CBM Consulting Services, and I provide business coaching. Okay, I help companies like you, and I help a lot of different companies grow and know how to grow the right way. You know, we also provide accounting services, tax services. I'm a trained accountant, and just through providing CFO services, is kind of went in right into the coaching thing. So I work with a lot of different clients. I got some really great clients that, you know, like you, when you work with your patients, you can see the progress, and you get that joy of the progress. And I see that with my own clients. So.
And you also do something special in your private life.
Yeah, my private life, yes. I'm a member of the Civil Air Patrol. Which,
What? What's the
Yeah.
Civil Air Patrol?
Civil Air Patrol is the official auxiliary of the United States Air Force.
Does anybody know who the Civil Air Patrol
Yeah,
happens to be?
John's my squadron commander right now.
Really?
So yeah, John's a great guy.
John's a friend of the two of us.
Yeah.
isn't
yeah.
he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I know John
know
very
very
well.
And you're a lieutenant colonel. are
And
you
I am
not?
a lieutenant colonel, and I am a pilot, and I get to fly the planes.
And you
play
get to
with
wear
the-
those nice outfits
I get to
that
wear
the
the
girls just love
uniforms.
seeing you
Yeah,
in,
yeah, I
right?
get to wear
And
the
you fly
flight
jet
suits.
planes and all
Well,
that
not
good kind of
jets.
stuff.
We don't fly
See,
jets.
my life is boring. I just put on concerts.
That's it.
That's all I do. I just put
No,
on
you
concerts.
get to
and-
deal with the celebrities.
Yeah, well, in a different way,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But
so.
yeah, we help charities make money, and we help businesses grow, and that's why we're the Business Power Hour.
Right.
Because we are there and we promote, and we'd like everybody to tune in from week to week and join us. We have special guests every week, and if you'd like to be a guest, please reach out to me. You can call me at 631-698-9696, or you can call Darren at
631-721-4347, and my extension is 101.
And stay tuned for the next show coming up, the Dan Romano Show. And we say goodnight to you, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much. Good night,
Okay.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Today's show is brought to you by Friend Entertainment USA, producing the best concerts for charities and corporations for over 30 years. And CBMS Consulting Services, control your business before it controls you. In association with Area 22 Productions, your multimedia streaming network. If you're interested in being a guest on our show, visit our website at www.bphdmm.com for more information. Today's show is brought to you by Friend Entertainment USA, producing the best concerts for charities and corporations for over 30 years. And CBMS Consulting Services, control your business before it controls you. In association with Area 22 Productions, your multimedia streaming network. If you're interested in being a guest on our show, visit our website at www.bphdmm.com for more information.